Got this skillet today at Goodwill. Looks like an 8-inch skillet. The inside is smooth, some crust in the corners here and in the pour spouts. The bottom is pretty crusty, you can see around here. I'm thinking this is Chicago hardware Foundry skillet from the early 1900s, based on this barely visible diamond with what looks like an 8 in the middle and then a pattern letter over on the side. So hopefully we'll be able to see it a little bit better once it's cleaned up. It's got a cornered bottom. It's not round, which I haven't seen before, so that's kind of cool. So that's the skillet. I'm going to throw it in an electrolysis bath and we'll see how that cleans it up. Stay tuned. I'll walk you through the whole process. All right, this is what I use for my electrolysis bath. It's basically an 18-gallon trash can. So just a regular old trash can. I have 4 pieces of rebar that I got at Home Depot in the corners. I have drilled holes in the corners, wrapped a wire around each piece of rebar, fed it through the hole, and then I've linked them all together to pass the current around to all the corners while it does its magic. This is a piece of wood I use with a piece of wire on it. Goes across there. This hook hangs from the wire, and then I hang the pot from that. I decided this trash can for the bath because it allows me to hang a pretty good sized skillet inside from this hook. It doesn't touch the sides, doesn't touch the bottom. For the electrolysis bath are here. This is Arm & Hammer Super Washing Soda. The other item is this manual car battery charger. So this is what you'll use to send the current through the water and the piece of cast iron. So first I need to fill up the trash can with about 15 gallons of water. I'll fill it up enough so that the pot, when it hangs in there, will be fully submerged and no part of it will be out of the water. Done filling. So the next thing to do is to add the washing soda. I believe the ratio is about a quarter of a cup for every 5 gallons. I think this is a little over 15 gallons. So I usually just use a cup since, hey, more the merrier, right? And there's no exact measurements to it from what I've seen. So now that you've got the washing soda in there, we'll go ahead and put the pot in. Looks like I didn't fill it quite full enough, so I'm going to add some more water to it. So here's the hook. It's just a basic metal hook that I've stripped the paint off of so it'll conduct the electricity through it. So next we need to put the pot in the solution. And I'm just hanging it right on that hook that's hanging from this wire. And it might not look too stable, but I haven't ever had a problem with it disconnecting or falling in. Next I'm going to hook up the battery charger. This one has 2 settings, 10 amp, 2 amp. I just keep it on 10 amp. Just it seems to go faster. I don't know the advantages or disadvantages of it. You do need a manual charger though, because if you get an automatic charger, once you connect it up and it gets the charge running through it, it'll just turn off because it thinks the quote-unquote battery is charged. There's no on-off switch on it either, so I just hook it up first and then plug it in. So bear with me. The positive goes to the rebar, or I think it's called donor metal, and then I hook the negative to the actual hook. And it's not in the water or touching the water, so there's no danger of that. And I always run this charger through a power strip with a breaker on it, so if anything does happen, it'll just trip the breaker. And if you look down here in the water, let me go around this side, you can see it starting to bubble and fizz. That means it's doing its job. So now all that's left to do is wait. I'll come back in a couple hours and show you what the water looks like. All right, it's been a couple hours, and as you can see, there's a lot of activity going on in the water. as the electrolysis does its work. You can see the rust and grime gathering at the donor metal, these pieces of rebar. So it'll continue like this for a couple days. I'll check it every day and see what it looks like. In a little less than 24 hours, it's the next morning, so I've come out to check on it. There we go. All right, so this is it coming right out of the water. That's what we've got so far. So you can see a lot of the stuff has come off. It's starting to just peel off. See along the edge there how it's just peeling back. So like it just comes right off. I'll let it go for another day and come back and check on it. All right, here we are the next day. It's been a little less than 48 hours that it's been in the electrolysis tank. This down and see what we got. A lot of the stuff is just coming right off. It's still stuck somewhat over here, but that's not a big deal because it should just flake right off with a little action. So it's bubbling up pretty good off of here like this. You can see the stuff, a lot of it just flakes right off. I have this metal brush, wire brush here that'll work. Sometimes works a little better than the plastic because it can get in there. So you can still see it's got a lot of crud that's not coming off. It's still on there pretty thick. So I'll keep doing this for a couple more minutes. A good, I would say probably 80 to 85% of it is all off. The rest shouldn't take too much longer. Some of it may be stubborn and we'll have to scrub it off with steel wool or something and some Dawn, but for the most part it's looking good. The charger's plugged back in, it's running again. You can see the water already starting to move around a little bit in there. And all right, so we'll come back check on it tomorrow. So you can still see there's still stuff on the pot around the back, so we'll see if any of that stuff comes off. Looks like there might be a couple spots on the bottom there. Without it coming out with steel wool or like a Scotch-Brite pad or whatever. See, there's still a good amount caked on here. It's going to take more time or something else to be used to get it off. So I'm going to put it back in and we'll check on it again. I've been busy the last few days, haven't had a chance to do much with this, so I just left it go and I threw a little bit more of the washing soda in there because it seemed like the activity had died down. So Let's see what we get when we pull this out of here. Hopefully it's about ready to start getting cleaned. Okay, so there's still quite a bit of stuff on there, as you can see. So we'll take this out and get the wire brush and see what else comes off. And I got my I went back inside and got a different tool. This is a paint scraper multi-tool. I'm going to see if this works any better. The plastics seem to just be bending. I want to be careful I don't use the point. I don't want to gouge any scratches into the iron. That seemed to do a pretty good job. Got a lot of that caked on stuff off the bottom. Looks like it's almost all gone now. Let's try it on the sides. Looks like almost everything's off. Got a little spot here. This is just discoloration here, and a spot here, mostly around the pour spout, so it's kind of a strange angles. I don't really have a flat area to come underneath the crud with. Move to the ground here, see if I have a little bit more purchase. Here it is after some scraping. It's all cleaned up. All the crud is off. Well, 99% of the crud is off. There's a little bit here in the edge. Let me try and get that off. Yeah, I don't see any more big chunks, so good for now. We'll go ahead and take it inside and start cleaning it up in the sink. Okay, water's warming up. Let me turn that off. Just dump a liberal amount of dish soap on it. Just go to town with the Scotch-Brite. Get as much of the grease and stuff off as I can. You'll see the water starts dripping really dark as the stuff comes off. So I'll just keep doing this several times, rinsing it, checking it, redoing it till it seems like it's down to the clean as it's going to get. May not be as clean as it can be, but in my experience I've never gotten it as clean as it can be. There always seems to be more stuff that can come off. You'll never get a clean rinse or a clean wipe, but you can see this stuff just always comes off. I've never gotten one that doesn't have some of the discoloration coming off, and I think that's just the iron. Could it be cleaner? I'd say probably definitely yes. Do I need it to be any cleaner? No, because what I'm going to do is just seal it. The bottom's nice and or season it. The bottom's nice and smooth. These aren't any noticeable pits in the bottom. There's no discoloration other than where the crust was the heaviest, and that's just very slight. So I'm going to go ahead and season this now, and I'll show you what I do. And wiped it down with just a very thin layer of this flaxseed oil that I got at Safeway, just to prevent any quick rust from forming, because it will form if it just sits here for a few minutes. So hopefully this will kind of seal the surface a little bit and prevent that from happening while I wait for the oven to warm up. And like I said, I never get a clean wipe. I'm not too concerned about it because it all gets sealed up by the seasoning. So I'll wait for the oven to warm up and then come in. Go ahead and stick the pan in just for 15 minutes or so. Stick it in upside down. And that way it'll bring it up to temperature and open up pores or the iron, so I've heard, that allows the seasoning to set in. So we'll let that sit for about 15 minutes. It has been 15 minutes, so I'm going to take it out of the oven now. I have these I don't know, barbecue or welding gloves that I use. Allows me better handling as opposed to just a pot holder. And what I'm going to do is just put a liberal amount of the flaxseed oil into the pan, and then just use the paper towel and spread it all over. Get it in all the spouts and on the handle. And I'll turn it over and do the same on the outside. Make sure you cover the whole pot down in all the crevices, and then what you want to do is get another set of paper towels and immediately just wipe off as much as you can, just to where it seems like you've wiped too much off. You want it to be, you know, pretty much just dry again, because the iron has already absorbed what it's going to absorb, and the rest will just sort of cake up on the outside and give you a sticky finish that you don't want. So once that's been all wiped off, you can see it's a pretty dull finish in there. I'm just going to stick it back in. I'm going to grab a pan first, just a cheap old pizza pan. I'm going to put it in below the rack where the pan will sit. The pan upside down over the pan. That's to catch any of the oil if it drips down. We'll close that up. Set the timer for an hour and then come back and repeat the same process. In about an hour, so we're going to take it out and just repeat the process. Need a lot less oil this time since it's already coated, but we'll rub it around in the inside, make sure it's all coated, and you can see how the oil doesn't even stick to some of the seasoning already. Put it back in and repeat for another hour. Another hour has passed, so we will repeat the process a third and final time. And you can see the oil just beating up on the seasoning. Stick it in. Third and final hour. We'll set the timer on the oven to cook for an hour, and then it'll shut off, and we will leave it to cool down inside the oven until it's completely cooled off. It's been another hour and the oven is off. I'm going to pull it out and let you see what it looks like before I return it and let it cool back down. This is the pan as it is now. Nice sheen on it. So it should be good to go at this point. I'm just going to put it back in the oven and let it continue to cool down at its own pace. The pan has cooled down, and I believe we're done with this one. You can see 8G, nice smooth finish. Inside is seasoned nicely. We'll make a nice pan. This is a Chicago hardware Foundry pan. It's a good pan, I'm happy with it. See, it'll get a lot of use. So thanks for tuning in. This was my first attempt at making a video like this. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Take care.